is good. That's a lot of money. Obviously, the expectations will rocket ship now that he's going to get paid almost $70 million guaranteed money, but they needed to get younger, and Washington did that.
Yeah, I think the other big piece of it is this is about potential. This is about a guy that was drafted in the first round, underachieved in Baltimore, then showed signs of that athleticism and some of the things we thought about his potential when he was drafted. And if you're the Washington Commanders, you have to create a pass rush. You look at the last 2 years under Dan Quinn, they were trying to manufacture the rush by bringing second-level pressure. If he can be one of those players that gets you into the 12 to 14 sack range, he is worth this sort of deal. We know he has the potential, but can he do that as an every-down rusher?
Dan mentioned the age of this Washington team. 13 defensive players at 30-plus last year, the most in the league by far. Let's turn our attention to Odafe Oweh landing a 3-year, $60 million deal and this agreement with the Bengals. We talked about the Bengals.
And we are following even more breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. The Commanders have a new edge rusher in Odafe Oweh. He was coming in around number 6, number 7 in Pete Prisco's top free agents. Now has a new home. We heard from Jonathan Jones, the likes of somebody you see on that list, Trey Hendrickson, waiting to find out what Odafe Oweh was going to get. And per our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, 3 years, $60 million, so about $20 million in average annual value. We are here on set. Let's bring in JJ. Odafe Oweh, tell us what was behind this deal.
So Odafe Oweh going to the Washington Commanders, and Commanders fans rejoice because you've been in on so many guys and have not been able to land one of those guys, right? In on a Linderbaum and wound up not being able to get him. But the Commanders get a pass rusher here in Odafe Oweh. It is a 4-year, $100 million contract. Quick math, that's $25 million per year for Oweh, who it didn't work out in Baltimore. He gets dealt to the Chargers, and he goes for 7.5 sacks in 12 games for the Bolts. He hits free agency when they decide not to franchise tag him. And so now he goes to the Commanders in that market right now for a younger pass rusher. This is going to be his age 28 season. He gets $25 million per year. Odafe Oweh, previously with the Seattle Seahawks, now signing a 3-year, $60 million contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. So that averages $20 million per year. So again, even though Trey Hendrickson had been hoping to get in the 30s, when you consider his age coming off that injury, it's going to be really hard now with that market being where it's at. We'll see where he can wind up. But we're starting to see some of these edge rushers finally find some landing spots.
Okay, Pete, first of all, thoughts on the Odafe Oweh, and then you can give us what you think this means for Trey Hendrickson.
Well, they need edge rush help, so it makes sense. I mean, $25 million, that puts them higher than Jalen Phillips even. That's a little surprising to me that he would get that number. And again, JJ probably doesn't know yet either, but how's the contract structured? Is there funny money in the final year of the deal? So it could ultimately be a 3-year deal, probably averages around 20. He's a good player. A lot of potential there, though, and so you're paying potential. I'm okay with that. An old coach once told me a long time ago. He said,
"How old is this coach?"
A long time ago. He's old, and he said, target free agency at the age of 26. That's what you want your roster to average. 26 years old. That means you got guys in the prime. You might have some older, you might have some younger, but that's where you want them. And so this is the kind of guy you target. It makes sense for the Commanders. I also think the Commanders are going to bring back Von Miller, and you know we talked to Von Miller at the Combine, and he kind of hinted that he wouldn't mind going back to the Broncos, but he doesn't think that's a reality. I think he's going to go back to the Commanders.
Look, I think Trey Hendrickson might have found his floor around $25 million. That's where these pass rushers are going. It seems like we say they can sign in waves. Oweh gets a big signing. That honey bun, $100 million, that's job well done. That's generational wealth, right? It didn't work out in Baltimore. It proves it over there. 7.5 sacks can get you $100 million in this league. Isn't that a beautiful thing? We got that age.
It's amazing. It's amazing because he was considered basically a bust before he went to the Chargers, and now he's getting $25 million a year.
You make one play a game as a defensive lineman, you get $100 million in your deal. You give up 1 sack a game as an offensive lineman, you're out the league in 6 weeks.
Will Campbell said that. He quoted that.
That's crazy.
Then let me ask you this then. So is that the floor we're looking at for Trey Hendrickson?
28 is my guess. 28 per.
28, you're going with that?
What
one?
I would bet Trey Hendrickson gets more than 25 a year. Just back-to-back 17 sack seasons. I would imagine he gets that or a little bit more than that.
I mean, one season of Trey Hendrickson is more than some of these guys' career sacks.
Yeah.
So you're talking about potential and age of 26, and this guy had 7.5 sacks. No slight on him, on Oweh. and he gets $100 million. Trey Henderson saying, hold on. I want 17 and a half.
One of the biggest signings of the day, or agreements of the day, I should say, going to the Raiders, presumably to protect Fernando Mendoza if they do take him #1 overall. And there's some big quarterbacks that have made some moves, Malik Willis being the top of that board. Adam Schefter, take it away on the QB news.
Yeah, Malik Willis is going to Miami. No surprise there. Reunites with Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan, the head coach and GM, who were in Green Bay last year, who got to watch him every single day. It's a 3-year deal worth $67.5 million, $47.5 or $45 million guaranteed. Dolphins obviously make a change at quarterback, and earlier in the day, they moved on from Tua Tagovailoa, designated him a post-June 1 salary cap casualty. They'll spread out the salary cap hit. He's now a free agent. He's talking to the Atlanta Falcons. That could be a logical fit with 2 lefty quarterbacks. We'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Falcons are getting closer to releasing Kirk Cousins, which they are expected to do by the start of the new league year on Wednesday. He, too, will be allowed to become a free agent, test the free agent market, and see his value. But that's a free agent quarterback market that seems to grow by the day with Tua and Kirk Cousins soon to be added. And, of course, we saw Kyler Murray added to that pool last week. The Arizona Cardinals moved on from him. They still owe him $36.8 million, which means he'll sign somewhere and be paid essentially the veteran minimum. He can pick where he'd like to go. He can choose what he'd like to do. A lot of people have connected him to Minnesota. We'll see if that reality comes to be. But Kyler Murray of the Vikings does make sense across the league to a lot of people.
Let's start with that then. Vikings make sense for Kyler to you?
Well, the Vikings make sense for Kyler if Kevin O'Connell is truly going to give him the opportunity to start. If it's not going to be one of those situations where J.J. McCarthy is the guy, unless he falls off in training camp, unless Kyler Murray just completely outplays him. I think Kyler Murray is a guy that wants to have an opportunity to start, not just an opportunity at competition.
Yeah, I don't even think you mess with Kyler unless you already are telling him, look, you're going to be the guy, unless you mess it up. Yeah. And for me, piggyback it off of what you're saying, I think what that does is that tells J.J. McCarthy, if you sign Kyler Murray,
yes,
you're telling J.J. McCarthy, you're probably going to be looking somewhere else.
Over.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Hey, once you start,
sorry, our coverage continues here on ESPN. NFL Live is coming your way. Adam Schefter will be a huge part of all of that. He's already been breaking news all day long. Schefter Cam is active. Let's hear what it's been like for Adam as news has broken across the NFL, and we'll get you ready for NFL Live coming your way in just moments. Thanks for tuning in to this, first of all. Today, football frenzy going on. Free agency officially underway.
That is Schefter, who's taking care of all of it for us.
Schefter Cam, I like that.
It is the biggest deal given to an interior offensive lineman ever.